Yo, what is up? It is your boy X here, and this is gonna be What If Deku Was Dater, a brand new what if that I actually thought of a little while ago, and I wrote the script for it a little bit ago. So, how this is gonna work is that Naruto will basically be born with Explosion Release, the Genkai from Naruto, and I'll also be giving him Earth Release because Deidara has that, as well as all of Deidara's abilities. He will be Bakugo's brother in this one, and you guys may be wondering like why is he his brother, but trust me, you'll learn to like it. Okay, so this story starts when Bakugo and Deku were born. They will actually be twins. Deku will be born with Bakugo's hair color except a tad bit more blonde than Bakugo. This means that they will grow up together and both grow up acknowledged by others as being the best and being on top of everybody with bickering along the way like any other brothers. Anyways, this will change a bit, however, when one day they will be in class and Deku will be playing with some clay. He's in preschool, by the way, and he accidentally makes the clay explode. This is when everybody gets excited and is like, whoa, like that's an amazing quirk. Deku will be shocked and Bakugo will get kind of jealous, admittedly. And this is when they'll go to the doctors with Bakugo, Mitsuki, and Deku, and they'll be told that Deku has the quirk Explosion Release. Deku will be happy and Bakugo will be shocked as well as a bit jealous and try to create explosions of his own. And this is when Bakugo will start having tiny pops in his hands. And the doctors tell him, wow, like that's an amazing quirk too. You can create explosions from the sweat in your hands, aka nitroglycerin. And Bakugo and Deku will be told that they have amazing quirks. This is when they'll both look at each other and smile and grin at each other. And they would both basically be extremely happy. This means that they would grow up training together and honing their abilities. And I'm going to go ahead and time skip all the way to the original canon with a little bit of explaining on what happens during these years. Okay, so along the years, they spent their time training and Bakugo got even stronger than his usual canon counterpart since he had his brother there to always motivate him to become even stronger and not ever slack off. So, his explosions will actually be 2 times stronger in this version, and he has the finesse as well as the experience that he has at season 4 of the actual series. And he'll definitely be a force to be reckoned with. When he'd also have his amazing combat prowess. My bad, I cannot read. And he'll be an absolute beast. Deku will have figured out how to create exploding clones of himself, how to create the dragon that Deidara uses, and how to create most of Deidara's moves. And he'll also actually be training his body since he'll take it into account that he can run out of clay, at any moment, and he'll end up training his body, so he'll have amazing taijutsu skills. He'll also have Earth Release, by the way, and has all of Deidara's moves except for the Suicide Bomb and the giant Deidara that releases the microscopic bombs. But other than that, he has most of Deidara's abilities. Also, this means that Deku will be a lot more confident and be more bold as well as charismatic. He'll also have the heroic nature that he has in the original canon, and Bakugo will have chilled out and stopped bullying people, but he'll still be hot-headed and scream a lot and have that little temper that he has, that good old Bakugo. The reason that he stopped bullying people was because, his brother was there to, like, kind of tell him, like, that's fucked up, and, like, to be there to tell him, like, hey, man, like, you're a hero, like, heroes don't do that to people, and Bakugo will kind of, like, make the realization that, like, it's true, like, Deku will basically talk no jutsu Bakugo in a way. And yeah. Okay, so back to the story. The teacher walks in and he proceeds to throw the papers in the air saying, I know you all want to become heroes. And this is when Bakugo would get up and say, me and Izuku will become the greatest heroes alive. We both pass our exams and we have the strongest quirks around. Deku will then get up and say, yeah, we're going to become great heroes who save everyone. And we're going to become greater than even All Might one day. A lot of the people start cheering and chattering in the class, and most of them will actually agree with them since Bakugo isn't a dick and they're not afraid of them. Class will end, and this is when Deku and Bakugo will actually take a shortcut under the tunnel that Deku takes in the original canon, and when they're walking, they'll both sense something coming at them with malicious intent. This is when they both jump away, and Deku sticks off to the wall, of course, because of his chakra, and Bakugo flies up with his explosions, kind of like the way that Iron Man does it. The sludge monster then says, I need your body, give it to me, and tries to lunge at Deku, but Deku will then create an explosive clone. And the explosive clone will then jump at the sludge monster with the monster trying to consume him and the clone actually exploding within the monster, making a lot of it kind of splatter everywhere. Bakugo would then say, I got this, Deku, and shoot 5 AP shots at the villain. And Bakugo would then say, now, Deku. This is when Deku would create a mud dome around the villain. And as this happens, All Might will see the two boys fighting off the villain and be surprised by their finesse as well as strength. He'll then say, I am here. I'll take it from here, guys. And this is when Deku will fanboy a little bit, and Bakugo will be a little surprised because he didn't expect to see All Might here. Sorry about that. But All Might would then come in and throw a smash, which would end up breaking the mud dome and send the sludge villain flying. He would then bottle him up and tell Bakugo and Deku thanks for the help, as well as sign their notebooks. They'll both be very excited as well as intrigued and want to ask him a couple questions, but All Might would then say that he actually has to go do some more hero work, and they'll understand that he's busy and not be on some can I become a hero bullshit. So All Might just jumps off. And also, gotta mention this right now, All Might will actually end up still dropping the sludge villain monster. This is when Deku and Bakugo will then walk home happy as fucking excited. And when they're on the way there, they actually see a giant fire. Turns out that the villain was dropped and had gotten a hold of somebody else. It was Inko's son, who I'm actually gonna name. You guys can pick. Of course, Inko's still gonna have a son, and he will actually inherit the fire breathing from Hisashi, and that's why there was fire. And they would both run up to see what had happened, and this is when they'd both see Inko's son. I'm just gonna say that until you guys pick a name. You guys can pick that down in the comments below. But then this is when they would both look at each other and say, nah, fuck this. And Deku and Bakugo would rush in there with the sludge villain afraid and screaming at them like, get away from me or I'll kill the kid. This is when Deku would make another explosive clone, and Bakugo would grab the clone by the arm and basically throw it at the sludge monster, creating a giant explosion that would make the villain splatter. And Deku would rush in and grab Inko's son. I really want to give him a name, but you guys can pick it. Whatever. Anyways, so he'd do this, and this is when All Might would then be inspired like in canon and rush in and say, I am here, and do the same thing that he does in canon with changing the weather. And this is when Deku and Bakugo would get bombarded with questions by the reporters, and the heroes would then come up to them and tell them that if they ever want to go pro, they should definitely check out their agency before they do it. This is when Deku and Bakugo will actually kind of sneak off since they don't want to deal with it, and they're kind of worried that Mitsuki is gonna kill them for being late. So they'd then be worried and be like, oh crap, mom's gonna kill us. So Deku and Bakugo would sneak off, and this is when they would run home. Deku would smile at Bakugo and say, that was fun. With Bakugo saying, hell yeah it was, we totally got that bastard. And right as they're running home, All Might would actually pop around the corner and say, I am here. He'd then deflate and cough out some blood, and Deku and Bakugo would be very shocked. He would then start to explain One For All to them, just like he does in canon, telling them about his injury as well as how One For All is actually a torch that has been passed down from generation to generation, and that he actually wants one of them to be a successor. This is when their eyes would widen and they'd both immediately say each other's names and say, he can have it. But this is when they then look at each other and be like, what? Like, no way, you deserve the quirk more than I do. And then All Might would kind of smile a little bit and say, well, you guys can decide one of these days. And this is when All Might would then tell them to meet him at the beach. This is when they'd go home extremely happy and like wondering like what to do, because each one of them wants to give the quirk to their brother, and you know, that's just how it is. So they'd get home and get yelled at by Mitsuki, and she'd basically tell them off and then proceed to tell them how proud she is of them, and they'd basically go off into their rooms, talk about how cool meeting All Might was. And that's where I'm going to be leaving this off, boys. Sorry for the shorter episode, but you guys, I'm actually doing this so you guys in the comments can actually pick Inko's son's name, because he might be a little important since he's going to be replacing Mineta. Just throwing that out there. And if this video gets 10 likes, I'll post the next part soon. Also, subscribe to me and sub, as well as turn on those notifications. But with nothing else to say, Zither,